Was that choreographed by Hermes Pan,
Hi,
that
Leonard.
little dance?
Yes, Fred Astaire taught me that. He did, actually.
Wasn't Monday your 81st birthday, April Fool's Day?
81!
Now, my mother was born on April 1st, and she hated the fact that it was April Fool's Day.
No, I like it, because then you can do silly things and people forgive you. You know, they say she's not crazy. She's just born April 1st, so that's me. And thank you all for coming tonight. That's very sweet of you to come and see me before I kick the bucket. It's a nice feeling, isn't it? Yeah. Hello over there. Hi.
Well, the first time we talked was on my radio show when you were promoting your first memoir, Debbie, My Life, and you told me that you'd married a wonderful man and had moved to Roanoke, Virginia. And you write in your preface to this book that you can't believe how naive you were when you wrote that book in 1988, where you called your third husband, a real estate developer named Richard Hamlett, brave, loyal, and loving.
Yes, he's a schmuck. I guess he just can't help it.
Well, pretty much all of the people you tell stories about in this book are no longer with us, except Richard Hamlett, because...
I don't care where he is. Once you do me in, then I'm through with you. Well, we're not here to talk about him anyway. You know, I haven't seen him in 8 years or something. He's somewhere. But I'm waiting for bad news when the car went over the cliff or something like that.
Or that...
Karma.
Or that he screwed his next wife out of all of her money or something like
yes,
that.
Yes, he does have a tendency to destroy women.
Yeah.
He's not gay, so at least don't destroy men. So thank goodness something about him. Hello down here. Hi. Hello, Leonard. We're here to talk about the book. It's a book. It took me a whole year to write it. It's hard to write things that you want to put down. See, the reason I decided to do it was because rather than when you're dead, everybody writes everything about you, that's not true. So I thought, well, I don't want that to happen. I'll just put it all in a book, and then you can read about whatever I've done or haven't done. I didn't do very much, so except I made a lot of mistakes. I just married the wrong man, that's all. I should have married Burt Reynolds. I wouldn't have to change my last name, and we could share wigs.
Although you also say that perhaps you should have married a doctor because the most stable marriages in Hollywood turn out to be when stars marry doctors.
Well, it seems that it's worked that way. Irene Dunn married, Claudette Colbert married doctors, and Anne Blythe married doctors. It just seems to work out that way. I don't know why it does. It's just in my own mind because I am so weird. It's April 1st, that's what it is.
In the foreword to your book, your daughter Carrie writes that you are, quote, a good person, a kind person, which would be a fine thing, she says, if these were qualities that are consistently rewarded. Have you lived your life thinking that if you'd be good, you would be rewarded?
I don't know what that means. Do you know what I mean? Would I be good? What I try to do is to be good all the time, and I mean in a sense of helping others or doing for others. But I never analyze it, I want to wake up today and do really great things. I mean, I think life is not that easy. Everything is sort of challenging, but the fun of it is to get through it, without falling apart. Because I never like that. It's sort of messy. So I just said, whatever happens, it's not lucky. I just keep going on. Like at the end of a tunnel, and at the end of the tunnel, there's a light at the end of every tunnel. So I figured that I can make it through to the end of the tunnel. And I have. I've made it to this age. I can't believe I'm 81. I just can't believe it. Can you believe that?
Carrie also asks in that foreword, did you really marry those morons?
Yeah, I did marry them, yeah. That I was the moron. But it doesn't matter because that's in the past now. And the nice thing, in the morning I wake up and I'm all by myself and I'm happy. I don't have anybody in the bed. that's going to fart. It just happens that way.
So
But
you're
anyway,
never going to
that's-
marry again?
Would I ever marry again? Well, Leonard, that's sweet of you to ask. Well, you're Jewish, aren't you?
I'm what?
Are you Jewish?
Yes.
Well, I only marry Jews, so you
Yeah.
have a chance.
There was a song, I'll Never Say Never Again. You remember that song?
I'll never say no to you, whatever you say or do. If you ask me to wait for a lifetime. That one from Molly Brown.
So are you taking this as a proposal?
Were you proposing or was
Yeah.
I proposing?
Well,
I can't propose, Leonard, because of the farting and all that sort of thing.
and I'm a married man. Anyway,
Oh, you're a married man? Oh, good. We can eliminate this whole conversation.
I suspect there isn't a person in this audience who isn't familiar with the story of your marriage to Eddie Fisher. But then you married Harry Carl, and he was rich. So what was the problem there?
Well, gambling. He gambled a lot, so he lost a lot of his money in Vegas, and that was and he drank a lot too. He had a lot of fun. He had a good time. I could have shopped and bought hats and on his money. I could have done all that if I'd just known about it. See, I never knew he did all that. That he sort of was a secret person, the kind of person that drinks on their side. I mean, not on their side, actually. But he had an illness, I guess, of alcoholism.
And then he went through his money and your money, left you $10 million in debt. And your house was actually raided by the feds?
Well, they came by.
Hi, Debbie.
And they put big blocks of wood up, with a hammer. That's the only thing. They were rude. And one man had like a hat like Columbo, It was really funny, except it was $20 million later. I had to come to New York. I came to New York, and I had to be with a whole bunch of lawyers and all that. And then I was stuck for all his bills. Well, that was my second marriage.
What happened to his business?
The third one beat them
show-
all, though.
Well-
If I keep going, I'll be in the grave. So I don't dare marry again. Everyone I marry, they all want the money, see? And I have to keep working. But now I can't keep working because I'm falling apart.
You discovered that Richard Hamlett, your third husband, had been carrying on with a woman from Roanoke that he had introduced you to on your honeymoon. She was one of three women he brought along to the honeymoon.
I wrote about all this in my book because I thought it would be interesting. On our honeymoon, we went upstairs, we're going to wave goodbye. Everybody, we were just taking off. I decided to do a cruise ship, do a thing. I always take cruises because then you get to go for free. And I love to get to go for free. I don't know, it just excites me that I don't have to pay for everything. So we went upstairs, and my husband, just married, he said, look, this is Julie, and I forget their names, because I didn't realize I was looking at potential mistresses. I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know one before that. Well, I did, yes, I knew Elizabeth. Thing is, So we were friends, and we weren't, then we were again. But I met these three ladies, and now it seems one of them was his mistress. Then and now and after. And
during the whole marriage?
Through the whole marriage, this lady, whatever she was, I met her one time after that in his office. But I didn't realize it. She didn't just type, she was a type.
And he stashed her later when you opened your hotel in Las Vegas. He stashed her down the road at the Stardust.
Well, stash is an interesting word.
Well, he kept her down there.
Other one. What they did together, I don't know if it was stash or together, Up the street was the Stardust, and that's where I had my little hotel. I had this really cute hotel. I bought this little hotel, and it was just fun. And we had a thing called Jazz and Jokes, so we told jokes and music, and I entertained. And we had a little theater there, and I had my little museum there with all my memorabilia, part of it, and it was wonderful. And I was very happy to be there, and I thought I could stay there my whole life, and that I could be the hostess with the mostest, and I could entertain my whole life, because that's, well, until my age now, then I'd know I couldn't do it. But I don't know if you realize that or not, but at a certain age, you just sort of fall apart. I don't know what it is. You look in the mirror and everything is moved someplace else. I live in Burbank and my boobs live in San Diego. It's a life. So anyway, I met these ladies, and now that one stayed with him. She's still with him. He's denying that he's with someone, but he is.
So
he's
you're
a liar and a cheat and a half-ass.
So you're in Las Vegas and you're building this hotel, and he kind of tries to take over. Meanwhile, he's piling up gambling debts, and he's embezzled much of the money from the business.
Well,
and then
he
when you
liked
finally
money. He liked money, your money.
And then you confronted him, and he said, "Well, let's not talk about it here. Let's go out on this 12th floor balcony, this very narrow little balcony, and discuss it." And you foolishly were suspicious that he might want to push you over.
Yes, well, we had $1 million life insurance. He had on my life, and I had on his life. So I suddenly, when he said that, I felt like perhaps he might take my hand and throw me over, because I had been waiting up for him, because he was supposed to be home really early, and he had told me to be home at my apartment, and we'd have a visit and be together. And instead, he was very late, it was about 5 in the morning he got home. Well, that's not unusual, because I was on stage, working until 2. So, show people, because they work, they up late, and then they greet everybody in the morning. In the morning, when they're going to bed, people are getting up, but show people are backwards in a lot of ways. We're very backward. So he was starting to reach for me, and I just had a premonition that I was going over the balcony, because he was a big fellow. He's tall and good looking, all the right things. He's good looking. So, and I'm sorry that it had to end this way, but it wasn't anything I had to do with. Every time I pick them out, I just don't know. So when he reached for me, I said, "Excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom." So I just ran for my little dressing room. It was my apartment anyway, because everything we had was mine. We lived in Vegas, and he had his own place. He lived in Virginia, but when he married me, he moved in with me. And I paid for everything, which it didn't bother me to do that. That's just part of the deal, and I'm so used to it, it's okay. So when I ran in there, I just knew he was going to toss me over, because he had hold my hand, and he was pulling, at me, and so I hid behind my purses. I'm very short. I'm a short person. I'm not a big, tall person. I don't know if you could tell, because I'm seated, so I look really. And I climbed up this little ladder I had, and I hid behind these purses I had, big purses, that you girls put everything in. You know how we put everything in. So I hid a bunch of about 20 purses, and I hid behind there. And I heard him looking for me everywhere. He was banging the doors and calling for me. So I was all behind the bags. That's an interesting, I didn't know that. I just thought about that. I'm an old bag behind the bags. So I hid behind the bags for I don't know how long. And I kept waiting, for him to find me, because I would hope he wouldn't find me, and he didn't find me, and I just stayed behind the bags. And then I heard the door close, and then I thought he's fooling me, maybe he's fooling me. So I was really scared, and I just stayed there. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited. I had to go to the bathroom really bad, and it's awful when you have to go to the bathroom, especially if you think you're going to be killed. And it was hard to get my hand, on. When you have to go to the bathroom, the ladies know that you sometimes will put your hand on your pee-pee. So, well, you don't want to do that. So I couldn't move because I was all in a line, but I didn't pee on my purses, and I heard the door close, and after hours and hours I got up and I went to look at the door, and he wasn't there. So I quickly put the chain on the door and everything on the door, and then I called security and I said, don't let him back in, and I never saw him again. Because it was opening night of our hotel. I was doing the act for the first time, this act we had with 4 boys, dancers, and we were dancing and entertaining and everything. And this was the first night we were open, and we had worked really, really hard, and he got up in the middle of the whole act and left and went up the street to the another hotel to find his mistress. Isn't that mean?
So do you think he
it's
was a con
really
man?
mean. He stood in the spotlight, and he walked out, and I watched him walk out like that. I wanted to say, where you going, but I didn't say. So that was the end. It was over.
Do you think he was a con man from the start?
Yes.
Because he
Still
said to
is,
you,
I'm sure.
you can't get rid of me. I control everything. It's all in my name. You're just a figurehead. You're nothing, and I don't love you. I mean, that's about pretty awful.
Wasn't that sweet?
Yeah.
What a kind thing to say. Well, he did tell me that. He did say that. It was just
Well, I got it out of your book.
that was the afternoon of when he came home late, and said. So it was just all over. It was a sad thing. But that's 3. So 3 strikes and you're out. But
Well,
I'm very lucky. I have my children. I have Carrie and Todd, and they're great. Carrie's adorable. She's fun, and she has a problem, with the mental health thing. That's a problem. But you just fall apart once in a while. Well, manic depressive, it's very sad because, you go all different ways. One day you're really happy, and the next day you have an attack, and then you're suicidal. So she's been very brave through this whole thing. And she's so funny. She's brilliant. And she came here and did a play, and she wrote a play. She's just gifted. God gave her a big talent.
She once told me that she prefers to be called manic depressive rather than bipolar because bipolar sounds like a sexually confused bear. She's very witty.
Did she say
Yeah.
that? It's so funny. She's so funny. I just love her. And I adore my children. And she's really exceptional because, for her to have overcome, she doesn't overcome it because you never overcome manic depressive. And you have to sincerely fight having this problem your whole life. But it's very interesting to adore someone like that because it's never a dull moment. And for them, it's especially hard. But if you love them more than anything in the world, they can make it. If people are loved, then they'll fight hard to be really well again and not to do away with themselves because it's so important to love them. Love is everything. Not for me, of course. I don't.
She lives next door to you now.
We live on the same plot of land. Yeah. She has a very big home up on the hill, and Edith Head used to be living there, and Betty Davis lived there, and it's a really pretty, beautiful house. And I have a little house that I bought below so I could be near Carrie and help her through a lot of the difficulties. She has a wonderful daughter. I have one granddaughter who lives here in New York. I mean, she's going to NYU, so now she just took a apartment in Brooklyn. You like NYU? Yeah. Did you go there? I've never been out there. I want to go see the It's not that far?
I live in Brooklyn. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
she's safe.
She just took an apartment in Brooklyn, so you have to take 2 trains or something like that to get. I'd be scared to death. If they didn't get you on the first train, then they get you on the second. I don't know.
Well, the big problem is the G train, but we don't want to go into that.
See, I'd be nervous.
But as you tell the story, Todd was a very important part of your life, really helped you through the rough times with Richard and you and Carrie, and they're both the children of Eddie. So despite, I think, you're tired by now about talking about that marriage, but
Yeah, I am.
but I do have to ask you something. Didn't you
Everybody
once
asks
tell-
me about Elizabeth and Eddie and how they got together and
I'm not gonna
all
ask you
that
that.
sort of thing.
But
you've
didn't-
all read about it. It's boring.
Didn't you tell me that he disappeared right after you got married, and that you had to track him down in New York where he was playing cards with his poker buddies?
No, he wasn't playing cards. He was fucking Elizabeth.
Oh no, I'm talking about earlier. No, I was talking about right after you got married, you thought you were going to go on a honeymoon, and he was off playing cards with Al Jolson. You don't remember that story? Okay, it doesn't matter.
I really tried to block that whole period.
Well,
of
I
my
met
life.
Eddie some years ago, and I was struck by how eccentric he was and how tolerant his last wife was when he would go up to strange women on the street and kiss them.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, I suppose it was all right. I don't know. He's gone now, and I didn't kill him, so. He wasn't really well at the end, and Carrie took good care of him. And she would go up to San Francisco, and she put him in the right home, and he was well cared for, considering he didn't do well by them. She did well by him.
But you got a lot of funny material out of that, and the
Yes.
whole complicated family connections in her
Yeah.
show, which was just hilarious.
Yeah, the show that she wrote and talked about Eddie was very funny because she writes so funny. She just takes because it's hard to have a daddy that isn't there for you. You know, it doesn't love you or is not sensitive enough to be with you. So it was hard for her, but she just it was a good girl. She is a good girl, rather.
Well, is it true that for a long time you refused to call her Carrie Fisher and preferred to say Princess Leia, my daughter?
Well, I didn't care for the name, his name. I didn't care for a lot of things that happened, so I just blocked it. I just really find that easier for me if I just block it. You know, like all those things when they snort and when they. I just he had a lot of problems, and he was on speed, and he had a lot of problems, which then he gave to Carrie. A lot of these illnesses came from him, and that's not good. But over the years, I didn't think about Eddie after I made up with Elizabeth, and she and I became friends again, and I just categorize it. You know, when you have a lot of pain with something, it's best to try to get through it and do the best you can and move along with life.
You've had, you came close to having kidney failure. You've had a mini stroke, a TIA it's called.
I don't know if I've got it. I got it. I figured, no, I did. I've been very sick in the last 4 months.
But you continue to work a lot.
Well, I'm stubborn. I won't die. I just. It's too much fun to find out what's going to happen to me.
Well, do you?
You know, every day is so different, and it just becomes crazy. So I just enjoy my life so much. I can't wait to see what's going to happen the next day.
So it's a matter of just working a lot because you prefer not to retire, or because you have to keep on working to pay off all the debts from
Oh, no, I
those
paid all
husbands
those
in the
debts off years ago. With my second husband, I paid $20 million. I worked 10 years, rather, in New York in plays, and I paid off all his debts and everybody's debts. I've always been the one that takes care of everybody.
Well, you said that you were always had money until you got married. Haven't you just finished an HBO film about Liberace?
We did. We did a show about.
When is that going to be on the air?
Where?
Oh, so it's coming up fairly soon.
Yeah, they're going to
a month from now.
release it. We just finished it a little while ago. It was fun to do. They called me, and I knew Lee. I loved him. Oh, he was really funny. Liberace, that's the way he talked. I remember, we'd hang out together because he worked Vegas, I worked Vegas, and he was at the Hilton, I was at the Desert Inn. And after the show, you'd think he'd hang out with a bunch of guys and all that, so well. But he liked Debbie because, I don't know, she was very strange, I guess. So he liked me. And we would go to a nightclub and listen to music and Louis Prima and listen to all the fun, wonderful music, and we'd have such a good time. And he would pick me up in the limousine. He drove it himself, and he had the hat on. He'd say, Debbie, now I'll pick you up, and you just wear white, all white, and wear all your jewelry. I didn't have much left from Harry Carl, but I wore whatever. He was a great man. He was a terrific man, and he was a great musician, and he was sweet. He was so good and so kind.
And Michael Douglas is playing him?
Michael Douglas plays Liberace, and the young boy is so cute. Now, what's his name? Matt Damon.
And Rob Lowe is also in it.
I had a note, and I always put everything in my tits because...
Well, I'm not sure if it's in San Diego or Burbank now. This is Burbank, and this is San Diego. Well, I don't know. I lost. Anyway, and you play his mother with a prosthetic nose on.
Well, I played Liberace's mother, and she's from Poland, and she was so that she talked like this because you can't understand, but it's very deep. This is really her voice, because I like to do impression, and this is the way she talked. Like this is Russian, Poland and Russian, like that. That's the way she really talked. So I studied that. And I wore a white wig, and I was really cute in that. I mean, it felt funny because I knew her. I mean, I met her, and I was much younger then. But suddenly I've aged so much, I didn't even know who I was when I did the part. But it was fun to do. It was fun. It's a good picture. I saw the picture. It's really terrific. It's some parts are kind of sexual.
It is HBO, it's okay.
I never really saw, two men together before, so it was sort of shocking. But I did watch. I closed my eyes a little bit because it looked painful to me. I've never quite understood it, but that's what was going on. And that was their, I don't know why they filmed any of that, because actually what you do in your private life and what you love to do is nobody's business, in my opinion. So I really didn't care for some of those scenes that were very, they looked real. I don't know how they did it and not do it.
Is that called acting?
I don't know what you'd call it. It looks scary to me.
Listening to you do Liberace, I'm reminded that you do great impressions of some people, Katharine Hepburn, Betty Davis.
Yes, well, it depends. My voice line is a little off because I don't know if I have this little throat. But this is Catherine, or who is this? Hello, everybody. No, this is Jaja. Thank you. Thank you, dear. I haven't been well now. You can hear my voice is funky, isn't it? Sort of a funny sound. But there's Jaja. Jaja Gaboris talk like this. Hello, everybody. I talk like this. I'm married to a prince. I lost my leg. I don't know. And then, well, I don't know. Katharine Hepburn is, well, really, I mean, I don't know. No. It's a rule I have, but I don't know. I awakened with a funny. It was really windy last night, wasn't it? Yeah, so I have an odd sound to my throat.
When did you start doing impressions?
I always did impressions of people. I just love the sound. My family were from Texas, and everybody talked kind of like that, now up here in their nose and everything like that. So I don't know. I always copied them because that's the way they were. And then as I when I came into show business, I just loved everybody, the way that everybody talked, because everybody who was a star was an individual sound. And so I just started, like I had Barry Fitzgerald I worked with called in the Catered Affair. It was with Betty Davis, and I love Barry Fitzgerald. Isn't he cute? So he taught me how to imitate him. You put your lower teeth, I don't know what in the world. Where are you going to go today? Oh, how do you do? Hello, it's so nice to see you. So I just started practicing everybody, to imitate everybody, thinking they're all so wonderful.
And you have wonderful pictures of a lot of those people in the book.
Oh, it's really pretty book. Isn't that pretty? Look how, I used to be so cute. Look at that. I don't know what happened, I told you. But, and on the back, I put a pretty one. I'm walking on top of water like Jesus. Right there. Not that I think I am, I just think it's a good picture of Debbie. And then I have some wonderful ones of Carrie in here and Todd and everything. It's a really good book. All this is when I loved of Judy Garland. I loved Judy Garland. She was a great, great entertainer and a good friend. We were good friends. She was so sweet. This is a speech I'm just doing, and she was watching me give the speech. And I knew the children, Liza and all the kids. She had such a sad ending. It was so sad because she didn't deserve any of that. She was really quite marvelous. This is Carrie. You have to look at on the way out, maybe they'll give you a free book. So cute. And Todd, my son Todd, is adorable. Without him, I don't think Carrie and I would have made it. He's the man in our life.
Well, I mentioned you started doing impressions. You didn't start off as a singer. You used to do lip syncing, in fact.
Well, no, that's just the way it was, when I ended.
So did you even know that you could become a singer when you were young?
Well, I didn't become a singer. I didn't, until they signed me under contract at Warner Brothers. And then after a year, Mr. Warner said, we're not going to do any musicals, so we'll just send her over to Metro. So they took me to Metro. And then right away, they put me into Singing in the Rain, which is just wild that they would take this young girl. I was 17 when I did Singing in the Rain, and I had never danced.
And that you described that in the book as a really difficult shoot for obvious reasons. You had to sing and dance at the same time. And
well, how
Gene
can you
Kelly
learn how to dance
Dennis
with Gene?
O'Connor. Excuse me?
You can't learn how to dance with Gene Kelly, who's a master. That's like dancing with Fred Astaire. They're geniuses. They're wonderful. So I had to learn all of that when I was just a little girl. Well, 17 is a little girl. And I knew nothing about show business. And Gene Kelly was kind of a master. But he taught me everything. And Donald O'Connor, he was really sweet, Donald. And he worked with me on running up the wall and flipping backwards. He was really fun. Singing in the Rain was a lot of fun. But my feet bled, and we worked 14, 15 hours a day. That's when you dance. And that's the only way you can really learn how to dance that fast, is to work yourself to death on that. But I didn't. I learned a lot. And then I went on to do lots of other. I think I did 60 movies altogether, something like that.
Well, you were at MGM, and that was almost like a school, wasn't it? They had classes for pretty much everything.
Well, we had classes all day. We'd take 8 hours of classes. In the early morning, you'd have just a workout, a general dance workout. Then you'd have tap. Then you have ballet. Then you have a vocal, speaking teacher. And then you had another coach who was singing, just regular singing, and then another coach who was with Catherine Grayson. So you had that kind of singing, opera. So you had everything. You had to learn how to do trapeze. You had to learn how to fence. Things like that, all that.
So you know how to fence?
I learned how to fence, yeah.
You were there during what has been called Hollywood's golden age. And was that the experience for you, that it was a golden age?
Well, it was the golden age. Hollywood was the golden age, wasn't it? I mean, that was all the great stars.
But you also say
you had Greta Garbo. I love the Greta Garbo. You had Clark Gable. Well, in fact, I got to meet Clark Gable and Fred Astaire and Katharine Hepburn. Everybody was under contract at MGM, and I got to meet them all. So I came in at the last and the most wonderful time of all. And the story about Gable, everybody asked me about, he was there for like 20, 30 years, and they let him go because television came in, and television ended that whole wonderful, marvelous golden time. And they let him go, and nobody saw him goodbye even. Nobody. They didn't give him a party. They didn't say goodbye. They just let him drive out. So it was a very sad time because they let so many stars go. Greer Garson, they let go. Ava Gardner, who was there under contract, Lana Turner, all these great stars were at MGM. But I got to meet them all. What a lucky time for me, and know them all through the years.
Sounds like some baseball teams that decide to just pair the payroll. But I mean, in the case of Clark Gable, he sold a lot of tickets.
I'd say. I don't know how many movies he made, but he made 1 million movies. He was a really nice man.
And he did some nice films after he left MGM. But you made The Tender Trap with Frank Sinatra, and didn't he give you some advice about getting married to Eddie Fisher?
Well, he just took me to lunch one day because we were making The Tender Trap, which is a movie, and John Wayne. Let's see, who was in that? No, it wasn't John Wayne. David Wayne. I'm so glad you came tonight. I would be lost without you. Got a good close stay there now. So, I don't know what we were talking about.
I said Frank Sinatra gave you advice about.
So he took me to lunch, and he said, I have to tell you, dear, I don't want you, I was engaged to Eddie, and he said, Debbie, I think you should be aware of this, that you shouldn't marry a singer. You shouldn't marry a singer. I said, well, why wouldn't I? I mean, that Eddie just happens to be a singer, but I mean, I love him. And he said, no, I don't want you to marry him because he'll probably play around like I do. He said, that's what he said. He said, because none of us are faithful. He said, singers aren't faithful. I said, okay, well, I didn't know that, but I still will marry him. He said, well, I don't want you to, but if you're going to do it, he called when all that happened, and Eddie left to wish me good. He wanted to say, he said, why didn't you listen to me? And I said, I'm sorry, and that I didn't listen, but I didn't, Nobody does when they're in love. You don't think about, I'm in love, but I'm not going to marry. I'm in love, but I'm not going to be in love. It's just not possible. So you do make mistakes. I made
Did you have any boyfriends you should have married?
No, I had a crush on Bob Wagner, who is a great, not a great actor, I suppose. None of us. I was never great, We just stubborn enough to last. I just thought he was adorable. I mean, just so cute and all.
Yeah, he is.
Goodness, yes. But he didn't. Obviously, we were very young, 17. I mean, I just had a crush on him. But he married Natalie Wood, and he married Jill St. John, whom he's married to now. So he didn't care he had a crush on Barbara Stanwyck. That's who you've read about it, but it's true. And they were together for about 4 years. Yeah, I know. Do you want to know any more about it?
Well, I had a crush on Barbara Stanwyck too, so I understand.
Oh, Barbara Stanwyck was very wonderful actress, but very sexual. I mean, evidently wonderful about all of that.
You tell some stories in this book that could be considered rather racy. The tabloids used to give the impression that Hollywood was a place where almost everyone had loose morals. There were drugs, alcohol, the casting couch. But Elizabeth Taylor called you Little Girl Scout.
Well, I was very square, I was very religious, Nazarene, which is an interesting religion, and very full of prejudice, It couldn't be an actress. You weren't allowed. They told my mother I couldn't be an actor. I couldn't go under contract.
Because they didn't believe you should go to the movies.
Well, they didn't believe I should go to the movies. My mother let me go to the movies, but they, the church themselves, did not. But that's just the way it was. I left the church, that church particularly, because they just didn't know anything about what they were advising you to do, because it's just not true. And, show business is not amoral, or people are not bad. Everybody has their little moment, I suppose. But I didn't have experience that, except with Eddie. And sometimes once I went to a party with Shelley Winters. She was there. I wrote that story in the book because it was kind of shocking, because I had never been to a Hollywood party. And in Malibu, I went to a party one night with Hugh O'Brien. He used to be, Wyatt Earp. Oh, now they know. See, you didn't know that part, did you? Wyatt Earp, yeah. And so Hugh took me to this party, and there were all kinds of stars there, young stars in those days, And Shelley Winters was there, and I got to meet her, and I met her, and she was sitting there. She had a big, a very full skirt, like really full, and the boy that was, and Hugh too, took me around, was showing me, and he said, "Isn't that interesting, Debbie?" I said, "What, meeting Shelley?" He said, "Yes, and did you notice the boys that were with her, how young they were?" I said, "I didn't, they were young." She said, "Did you notice that they were servicing her?"
Under the skirt.
I said, "What does that mean?" He said, "Did you notice their heads were under the skirt?" Yeah, me too, that's what I thought. I was so shocked. Well, the two boys were under the skirt. Skirt was over them, and they were.
Maybe he'll give you the answer over
However
there.
you do that.
Did Mike Nichols really tell you that you're not right for the part of the mother in the movie version of Postcards from the Edge? That character was based on you, wasn't it?
Well, Carrie wrote, the original story was a book about a boy who had some sort of drug problem. I don't know, it was a very funny book. And then Mike Nichols bought the book or the rights, and he decided to make the leading lady a girl, and that she had a mother who was a drunk. And so they started writing, and I don't know anything about it, except Carrie wrote the book about, and then everyone decided it was me, and I don't like vodka at all, so it wasn't me at all. I don't like it. I only drink this cheap wine, this fiducia, what is that called? I don't know. Do you know what I drink? It's just a cheap white wine, fiducia, and I was thinking, well, I can't remember.
No.
So I just drink white wine, but it's just a little simple wine. But anyway, I asked Mike Nichols if I could read for the part of that particular book, and he said, "No, I've decided on Shirley MacLaine." And she was terrific in the part, and Meryl Streep was great, but it wasn't about me, but everybody thought it was. But I just let that go by.
Well, but there's an irony in all of that, in that Shirley MacLaine lost out the role in The Unsinkable Molly Brown to you, so...
Yes, we loved it. Shirley was set for it. Shirley was all set to do The Unsinkable Molly Brown, and then she was in a problem with Hal Wallace, who was a producer, and he said, "You can't do the movie because, I'm going to make another movie, and you're going to be in it." So Shirley lost on that part. They called me up and they said, "Debbie, you can do it." I wanted to do it very much, Molly Brown, because I had seen it in New York with Tammy Grimes, and she was wonderful, and I loved the part.
But she would never get the movie role because she wasn't a big enough star?
Well, the studios always used movie stars, and they didn't always use stage stars in the old days. So they weren't going to use her. So I was very lucky to get the part of the unsinkable Molly Brown. That's why I named my book The Unsinkable, because I loved the part. I just loved making the part.
And you've suggested
Thank you.
that Shirley MacLaine is better at playing a hooker than a hillbilly.
I think Shirley's a great actress. She's a great character actress. She really plays great roles, you know. Whereas I couldn't play them because I'm too adorable. That's what. I'm not good at hookers. I don't know. I'm not good at marriages. I'm not good at.
Although you once consulted a hooker, but we won't go.
Oh yeah, I hired a hooker to teach me how to do that thing.
Now, I'm going to start reading some of these questions from the audience in just a moment, but I want to bring up the Hollywood memorabilia collection that you amassed. How did you come to start doing that collecting? I mean, you wound up with some of the most famous things that ever were in the movies.
I love movies. I really always loved movies since I'm a little girl. I used to go to the movies for a dime. I'd work really hard, mow lawns and paint fences and stuff, so I could earn a dime, you know, to go to the movies, and then a quarter and all that. And when I came into the movies and I got to meet all these stars and everything, I wanted a piece of them for, what happened was I decided to see if I could build a museum, because I think American films are really the most brilliant of all films made in the world, and we should. I think that I don't want to forget any of these stars, and I don't want the young people to forget the stars. And they do have the Turner Broadcasting now, thank God, but so many of the stars they don't remember now, and that's sad, because Jimmy Stewart and all these great Cagney, they were so great. Edward G. Robinson. I loved all these stars. So I just started, the MGM had a big auction, and I started buying and saving. So for like 45 years, I saved, and I hoped I could get the Academy interested in them. In having a museum, because they had the money that they could do it, but they didn't ever do it, and I just had to give up finally, which was just about 9 months ago or something. I had a big auction and sold everything I had, except I still have some of the things left.
You kept the Maltese Falcon?
I kept the Maltese Falcon because I love that movie. I just thought it was a great movie, and the ruby red slippers. So some of the things I kept for Debbie, because Debbie's worked really hard, and I thought she deserved that.
But
but
a couple of the
I have
dresses.
it now. I have a thing. I can never do it because I don't know how to work anything that's, what's that called on what is it? Internet. Internet. Then you push the buttons and something like that, and then you have a mouse.
Debbie.
A mouse. No, the mouse keeps moving. I can't. But I have a store. Todd did it. He made a store. It's Debbie Reynolds Internet Store. Studio Store, it's called. And then you can buy still some of the memorabilia, so that those that really love certain stars. Yesterday we sold one of Lucille Ball's jackets, which I had as my own, just to keep it, myself, because I loved her. We were good friends. And so I decided, no, I'll let it go. And somebody bought it yesterday.
Oh, really?
So that's nice. I feel now, I'm very sad that I couldn't get it done, but I feel that the fans, at least they got a chance to have wonderful pieces. Marilyn Monroe's subway dress, the white subway dress, and Barbara Streisand's.
Wait, but that dress sold for $5.3 million. That's a lot of money for a dress.
I went shopping.
Yeah.
That day I went shopping. The hell with my husbands, I went shopping. I kept them.
Did that finally wipe out all of the debts you had from
Oh, my
husband
debts were
number
all
three?
cleared up after, well, not really, with the last one, but with Harry Carlton and all that. No, I worked them all out. But the auction was very sad for me, but I made a lot of money. I'm rich now. Isn't that interesting? That's interesting.
And people thought that stuff was junk.
Oh, well, some people just didn't understand the past, how to save our golden era. So they didn't care anything about it, but they weren't interested, but I was. So I just saved everything. They called it junk and trash, and Debbie was cuckoo. And since I was born April 1st, they really thought I was nuts. And I didn't care what they thought, so I saved everything. And then I'm sad to say I didn't get it done. But now they tell me, in fact, I'm going to a meeting when I get home, that they are going to build a museum. That's what they say, so we're going to pray that they really do it, and I'm going to help in any way I can, because I want to see that done. That's really important to me.
Well, you had hoped to have a part of your hotel devoted to the collection, and that...
Well, I did have. I had a
Yeah.
museum in the hotel, but that was
That
the
ended when you
other
gave up the
husband.
hotel.
Oh, I didn't give it up. I never give anything up. It's all auctioned.
Yeah, same
Yeah.
thing.
I don't give it up. It's just that they come and take it
They
and
take
board
it
up.
away.
I don't know. And there's nothing I know how to fix it. I don't know how to fix it. Do you know how to fix it? Say, I don't know what's the matter with me, but there's something wrong with me about money. And it's wrong. I just don't have good taste. Well, we went all through that. Doesn't matter. But it's interesting. In the book, you'll read it. The reason I decided to write the book was because the first book I said, because I was happily married and I really thought he was adorable and it would never fail because I worked so hard at trying to keep all these things. I hired the hooker lady to teach me how to do certain things, and I just thought it'll work, because now I know how to do something. Well, I didn't know the other way, I was a little Girl Scout. Well, I was boring, obviously. So when I learned how to do different things, I didn't know that you're supposed to do this and that and that and this and this and
Eddie
that.
never told you?
No,
Never told
Eddie, he never told me anything. He just did it. Now, what happened? You never know. I tell you, my life is so interesting. I have a wonderful life. I hope I can make it a couple more years. What do you think? I think 2 more. 2 more.
This wonderful audience has sent up some great questions.
Oh, good.
I'll try to get through
Okay.
as many of them as we can in the brief time we have left. What
Sure.
role does costume design play for actors? What compelled you to be enamored with its art?
Creativity, and I thought that they would, as an actress, when you're doing a role, it's terribly important how you look and that you take on the being of that actor that you are going to be. That personality is very important, what you wear and how you can create your role. So if a designer stinks and puts you in an outfit that's just totally wrong looking, that would really annoy you, right? It would just annoy me to tears. So I have always been interested in preservation and saving the memorabilia.
Well, when you're given a costume, how much does that affect the way you play a role?
When I'm given,
Well, in other words, you were in a movie, and they put this dress on
Well,
you.
they
You describe in
do.
some cases way too tight, but that's beside the point. And then, so suddenly you are transformed to some degree by what you're wearing. Does that actually have much of an effect on
well, you can't
how you
always
want to
have
play the
anything to
part?
say. If the producer is a definite person, then you have to wear it, I guess. But I've never had to wear it. If I didn't like it, I would go to the producer and say, I just really don't think that the actress that my part would play that. So I've only had that happen one time to me. And then I just decided I wouldn't care and that I would just make it mine, that I would just absorb the costume. But that's out of personalities. Sometimes you don't get along with the producer, so you have to do what they say.
That is what I was suggesting. I was suggesting rather that sometimes when they put a certain kind of makeup on you, change your hair, put you in a costume, you become somebody else. Does that affect you when you're playing the part as well? I mean, how much are all those extra things an influence on?
Isn't this a confusing question?
Yeah. Forget it. Anyway, this person writes. Actually, I thought it was an interesting question, but it's okay.
Well, it was an interesting question. Does it affect you? Of course. But like I say, if it's incorrect and you feel that, you have to do it anyway. So you just have to make it your own.
Well, here's what I'm thinking of, let's say Marlene Dietrich.
This will
On the
take a
one
little
hand,
while. Go ahead and talk amongst yourself. Yeah.
Marlene Dietrich, one time she's wearing a man's outfit, another time she is Catherine the Great. She's wearing these incredible gowns. And she becomes those different people to some degree, it seems to me, because of what she's wearing. Okay.
I think so. Yes, I'm
Okay.
sure you'd be affected. You'd be happy. You'd be yes. It's yes.
Okay, thank you. This person writes, would you ever
Stay
do
right
cabaret?
there.
This person writes, would you ever do cabaret in New York City? That is 54 Below, Cafe Carlyle, etc.
Would I have to do the play? Would I do the
No,
play?
this person wonders if you would ever work in cabaret here in New York City, because there were some
I did.
pretty
I worked
great-
at Carlisle, but I had a hard time. Did you like it? Oh, it's terrible.
What was the problem?
Oh, I didn't like me. You know, it's very hard to do my act there because the Carlisle is a small room, very small. And so the people were right there, you know, looking up your crotch, right. And that's just discerning. I'm not used to that. And so, I don't know, that sort of bothered me. Everybody was right there. And it's just a little room, and I was trying to do my impressions, so you had to run out of the room, and there wasn't a dressing room. No, you know, it's just the hallway and the elevator. So I would run off to put on Barbra Streisand because I put a little nose on, a little added nose, you know, just to help the look. And you know, so you can be Barbara. So what am I going to talk about? You know, so you go off of the stage and you go on there was steps. I'm not going to change my clothes. I got to put it on. I got to put my nose on. I got to put my hair. For God's sake, it's not easy. So I'd be off. It was just really not something I was used to. I love the hotel. Oh boy, and they have great food there, and they were nice to me. But I had a hard time because I just think I'm not right for the room. I don't know why. I just I'll have to find a little bigger place. I'm used to theater. I'm used to the stage. You know, I'm just used to it, and so that was. I don't think I should do the tiny room.
Well, there's been a lot of talk recently about Hollywood stars doing Broadway plays and how difficult it is for some of them to make that move. You did it looked pretty easy for you.
Well, I love to do, you know, my impressions. To say I really like comedy. I very much prefer comedy than to drama because I think that's my talent, and I don't think that the drama is. And so I evaluate myself as what do I like and what can I really do well. And I feel that I do comedy better, and it makes me laugh. I really, you must laugh in life because otherwise it's too hard. And with laughter, you can get rid of all the pain or any problems for a time being. Because there's nothing as much fun as the stage. When you walk out, you hear the hum of the audience and you hear the orchestra play. And you can ad-lib and do anything you want to do in nightclubs especially. And then you don't have a set dialogue, whereas in plays you really do. You're set. That is your character. Those are the dialogue. You can't ad lib because that's one thing I think is unforgivable. You must stay in the character. When sometimes I once saw a long time ago an actor break out and pretend that he was just looking for a laugh, but it was out of character, and I didn't think that was correct. I didn't feel that was, because Broadway is the greatest, New York is the greatest, the plays are the greatest. It really is exciting. It is, to come here and see the shows is very exciting, and it's thrilling, and everybody works so hard, and everybody dedicates themselves so much. It would be terribly unfair, and it would be wrong. I don't know who you would refer to. I've never seen it just with one person where they broke out of character.
Zero Mostel used to do it every so often, but...
Really?
Yeah.
I loved him. He was brilliant.
Oh, he was brilliant.
But he
and
would just get
they
bored.
loved him despite that.
Well, do you think he was just bored or was he drunk?
He was being zero. You were in Irene. You were in Woman of the Year. You did Debbie. So you've done a fair amount of theater.
I have. The only reason I don't do more is because it's New York. It's a long way from California. I get very cold. I can't handle the cold weather. Makes everything hurt. So, I have osteoporosis, I have arthritis, I have all these things, and I've had that for many, many, many years. And the cold really bothers me. So I have to stay in the warm weather.
Well, live long enough. Global warming is going to change all of that anyway. This person writes, please comment on Tony Randall, Deborah Messing, and Dick Van Dyke. I guess you could pick or choose.
I don't know. Which one would you like? Dick Van Dyke. He's just funny, and sweet, sweet, sweet. He's so adorable. He's just really what he seems to be, he is. I was just with him last week for the Dancers Society, a luncheon that they give every year to raise money for actors that are just dancers. And he was there, and he was just wonderful. I've known him many years. He's a terrific guy. Just got married again to a younger, well, men always do that. She's really cute, really sweet. So he's very happy. And who else did they want to know?
Deborah Messing, whose television show Smash is a total disaster this year, I gather.
Oh,
for
really?
NBC, yeah. And was she fun to work with?
Is she in it's called Smash?
Yes.
And it's off the air?
No, it's running, but it's the ratings have been really, really bad.
Oh, it takes time to make a show a big hit. What the heck?
Yeah.
I don't really know what I've heard about that. I mean,
but was she fun to work with?
Yeah. Well, everybody was on Will and Grace because it sort of set a new pattern, of gay and homosexuals and jokes are really funny. And they were terrific, I call them kids. And they accepted me and they treated me really right. And we had a lot of fun. I was lucky to be on it.
Rick Santorum blames Will and Grace he blames it for changing America's attitude about same-sex marriage. So
he blames it.
Yeah, he says it changed the way Americans saw those kinds of
Well,
relations.
I thought it helped it. It helped.
Well, Rick Santorum Rick Santorum is very conservative. He sees this as a disaster, whereas others might see it as a positive.
Well, is he gay?
Probably latent anyway, but...
He was gay?
No.
That's not how it works,
This person asks you to name your favorite co-star and your least favorite.
My favorite co-star was everyone. I just loved it. Fred Astaire, I loved him. He was so sweet. Jimmy Stewart.
You danced with Fred Astaire. You said that once he said to you, "Don't worry about learning steps, just follow me," and it was like dancing on air.
Just go with me, he'd say. I was so nervous. It was called The Pleasure of His Company. It was a movie. Oh, thank you. And he was so sweet. He played my dad, and he was older then, And we had a little scene where I'm the daughter, and he would just dance a very short amount of time. But I thought, oh my goodness, Fred Astaire, I hope I don't make a mistake and do it wrong. He said, you can't make a mistake. Just go with me. Just go where my hands just take you. My arms will take you. You'll be wonderful with it. And I mean, I wasn't wonderful in it, but I didn't make a mistake. And I just felt like it was easy. So he was a very special man. And Jimmy Stewart was the same. They were both, very special people. And Dick, too, he's so sweet. I like them all. I don't know, that's the trouble. I just like them all. Well, at least all those people, they're so kind and good. I didn't marry any of them. But you see... I don't think they were attracted to me. James Garner, he was so much fun. I loved him. We had a scene, what to do. I can't remember the name of the movie. It was like How Sweet It Is. I'm so glad. Did you meet my friend down here? It was a bedroom scene, and I had to get in the bed, and I was supposed to take off my top. And James was my husband. I was married, you know. And so we rehearsed the scene, and I didn't take off my top. But then they put false little things over they used to be small, but now they're huge. I couldn't do the scene today. I live in Burbank, and my boobs live in San Diego. So I don't know. I did the scene. I got in the bed, you know, with James, you know, the blankets and the covers and everything like that. And then I felt this buzzing noise and shaking of the bed. He had a big vibrator. I hit him with the vibrator. I chased him all over the set. I was so mad at him. He just did it to tease me, you know, because he knows I'm very square. And I didn't learn, well, whatever. Anyway, that was
This is the last question because we've run out of time. If the right role came along, would you come back to Broadway? If it was only during the summer.
I don't think I could do it 8 shows a week. Because I said years ago, I would do, you know, if I could do 5 shows. 8 shows a week is too hard.
It's grueling.
But especially what I love to do, musicals. You know, I couldn't do it now because time has gone on, and God was good to me all these years. And I just think it's time to be on a cloud, but not time to be on the stage at this age now. It's just, it's sad, it's too bad, because I'll miss that most of all. And you.
Well, this part of the program is over, but there'll be other things. If you have a book or if you purchase a book, Debbie will be in the art gallery.
Oh, Leonard, am I going to sign?
And there'll be photo opportunities.
So I get to sign the books?
Well, you've already signed the plates for the
good.
books, but you'll be taking pictures with all.
I really think you'll like the book because it's interesting. The stories are kind of shocking sometimes,
Yes.
but they're true. So it's interesting that I went through all that and that I'm still here. I've enjoyed.
And thank you all so much. And
Thank
especially
you.
thank you, Debbie.
Thank you for coming.